In a world where the marks think they know better than the wrestlers and the bookers, the Fantasy Booking Institute exists to pretty much do exactly that. This is a visit from the FBI. Hey, welcome to another visit from the FBI. Sorry, I was just leaning back so you guys could all see my Sasha Bear shirt, which I am super stoked to have. It's already up on the merch store. I'm excited. But welcome to the Wrestling Fantasy Booking Institute. I am your host, Detective Mark Smarks, and I am joined, as always, by my partner in crime, fighting District Attorney Vincent Kayfabe. What's going on, man? How are you?
Hey, how are you?
I'm doing good.
I have a little screen share.
I did see that, and I'm going to go ahead and pop it up here. And
look at
another new product on.
Yeah. The Raw and Order WBU screen with our co-host who should no. This is the closest you're going to get to seeing his face.
Yeah, tonight. Yeah, he decided that like school and stuff was more important.
But you can get him on a coffee mug if you want for $15.99.
Yeah, that's
less than I paid to get my kids' mug on a mug.
Yeah, and you could get it on a hat if you want to practice natural birth control. Right there. He's not here to defend himself, so I can say that shit. So yeah, look at that. It's got
many things.
The official definition of vignette right there, just in case you don't know what a vignette is. Right there.
Or you can just go to the front and what?
Look at all of those. Oh, Sasha Bear.
Everything. Sasha Bear. I've seen a shirt like that recently.
Yeah, I wonder where. Or Pissant Podcast. I just don't know where you could have seen that.
Or you can either get the shirt and send us to Turks and Caicos, or you can call the tourism board of Turks and Caicos and say this company is the one.
Yes,
you want to sponsor.
You need to sponsor them. Look at that! All the different colors and shapes and designs you can have on it. And then there's an important thing. Scroll down a bit because I want to point out something I've pointed out before. But see right there where it says "Personalize it, son." Start tagging stuff. Right, you can click that and you can add your own name, or you can upload an image or all sorts of stuff onto something. So you can choose the shirt you want, and then you can click like you want to put it on the back or the right sleeve or the left sleeve. So you could take this, and you could put whatever color whatever like image you want on it.
Wow,
so it's really cool.
Text, and I can write.
Never here.
I can just center that however I want, right?
Yep. Center it. You can make it bigger. You can change the fonts all around. You can do all sorts of stuff. Or here's the other thing I want to say. Say you got two designs that you're just not sure which one you want. Say you want Sasha Bear, but you also want it to say Raw and Order WBU on it. Instead of doing text on the back, you can click designs, and you can add one of our designs to the back. Right, so you could have Sasha Bear on the front and vignettes on the back, or whatever.
Let's do a shot. Well, so on the back, you're telling me that I can just arrange designs.
Yep, go up.
And if I wanted a different design,
no, you can do the front. You can choose that. So you could change the design there, and then on the back, you can click designs.
Well, I would have to play with this for a while.
So there's all sorts of fun stuff you can do.
I could do a Sasha Bear like that on the back.
You could. Exactly. Sasha Bear.
Which is the closest JLB's face will ever get to Sasha's body.
I mean, in fairness, almost all of us, it's going to be the closest. So
yeah, I mean, unless we buy like ringside seats.
Yeah. Anyways, before we get into talking fantasy booking, let's go ahead and take that off the screen. But before we get into talking fantasy booking, I wanna do a little I want to cover a little business really quickly here. It recently came to my attention. I put a tweet up and a Facebook post up the other day. If you're watching our live stream or watching along later, and you're someone who normally listens to our podcast, I put a tweet out. I put it out on all the channels that I could. But it recently came to my attention that Google Podcasts had stopped serving our podcast. They'd done some stupid stuff behind the scenes, and it was no longer serving our episodes. We suffered a drop in listeners, and I couldn't figure out why for a while. And I was just like, I don't know what's happening. Well, that turns out to be the thing. So I'm working to solve that problem. But in the meantime, either find a different podcast platform to listen on, Apple Podcasts or Spotify or something like that. It's still available on every other platform as far as I can tell, or watch the live stream or the replays of the live stream on either Facebook or YouTube. So there's some great options there. I know I'm saying it, so if you're watching this now, you probably are already, but I wanted to get that out there so people know that we are working on this. It was done back end by Google without conferring with us in advance. They just said, hey, we decided we found a different RSS feed that works better for your podcast, so we're going to do it. And it doesn't work better for our podcast because it doesn't, like the last episode that went up on it was September 1st episode. Yeah. So it was technically the August 29th episode or whatever, right? So if you haven't been getting our podcast on, like you've been meaning to listen to it, but it's not showing up on the podcast feed like Google Podcast, that's why. So find a different method to watch it. Watch the live stream. Come onto the live stream and interact with us. We'd love to have some interaction with you here, but otherwise listen to it in some other way. Google Podcasts is just not working right now. And I finally heard back from Google Podcast support is like non-existent. I submitted requests like days ago, and I finally heard back from them today. And they're like, oh yeah, we figured it out and we rectified the problem. It can be up to 2 weeks for the site to recrawl and fix it. And I'm like,
they can pay for all those listeners.
Yeah, I'm like, the thing is, like, you log into your Google Podcast thing and it says, oh, the show's now being served from a different feed. And it should be as simple as say no. And I shouldn't even have had to have contacted them. I should have just said, oh, it's served from a different feed. Cancel that feed and use the original one, right? The one that I verified and made sure that you had, 2 years ago. Anyways, so that's the business I wanted to get out there. I apologize to anyone who uses Google Podcasts to listen to this. There's a good chance that they just thought we disappeared for whatever reason if they didn't follow us on Facebook or YouTube, which is why I say to everyone, click that follow button on Facebook, click that subscribe button on YouTube. That way you're notified whenever we do this. Even if you're not going to watch the live stream, even if you're still going to use the audio feed later, click the subscribe button because you get notified there. And then you know if you've missed out on an episode due to shenanigans. So,
it would be even better than that, than the Facebook. And Facebook and Google are great ideas. If they went to Tatnus Co.
You can also go to Tatnus Co. That I always bring that up later. The thing with Tatnus Co. is not going to notify you. It's going to tell you and give you links to places to listen to it and all that stuff, but it's not going to notify you when we do new episodes. Whereas if you subscribe to it on Facebook or YouTube, you get notified. And you don't have to listen to it or watch it there, but then you can go to your podcast player and be like, I want to download this episode. And if it's not showing up there, something's wrong because it literally, this goes live usually about half an hour after we get off air, right? On thing. It takes me, we get done doing the live stream. I download, I do very simple edits. I upload to the podcast. That's it. So
he doesn't even edit out naughty words. Like,
no, I don't even, I drop the F-bombs. Yeah. I mean, we're going to fucking say it later anyway. Oh, shit. Fuck. Anyways. But now that we got that business out of the road, it is important to mention that Raw and Order is part of the Tatnus Co podcast network. So, head on over to tatnusco.com, like DFA mentioned, and you can check out all the other shows on the network. You can listen to them, find the links to listen to them all there. Tell them that we sent you. It's a great way to support us there. You can also support us on the merch store we showed you earlier. We get some great merch that you can buy, like the Pissant Podcast hat. This is a flex fit. It says so right there. I'm taking that off. I just wanted to leave it on long enough I could point it out in the podcast sometime. I'm not gonna be one of those guys walking around with the sticker on his hats forever. I even bent the brim.
Not that there's anything wrong with that. If you do that, that's all you, bud.
No, there's something wrong with that. Fuck those guys.
Don't piss off any clients, man.
Oh, they're clients now?
Yeah.
If anything, they're victims.
They pay me for my services.
You're a district attorney. You're part of the state. Anyways, but so you can also join us on Patreon, support us with just a couple bucks a month there. So some great ways to support us, but the easiest and quickest way is subscribing to us on YouTube and Facebook. That gets those analytics going and everything. So if you are new to the fantasy booking show, the rules are kind of simple. We're going to take turns challenging the other to book some unknown and often unlikely scenario in the world of professional wrestling. We don't discuss our challenges in advance, so the answers are always made up on the spot because we think that's funnier.
Yeah, we did discuss who was going first in advance, though, kind of.
Sort of.
I already have one, and you're going. I'm flying by the seat of your pants.
I have one, but it's not my usual, so I'll go ahead and let you go firk, and then we can kind of go with mine.
Mine's fun. It would be more fun with two people, but it's fun.
Like I said, mine's a little different than what I normally do, and so we'll do it second. We'll do it last. So, so we'll go ahead and get started on the fantasy booking. D.A. Fabe, what is your challenge?
Friends, jury, not JB, because he's not here. We had a discussion on Sunday night at the WBU where Smarks was what's the best word? Bitching about the fact that we don't really have stipulations for anything at Extreme Rules. We did get one last night. Sort of.
Yeah. It was change. Well, we got one specifically, and it was just in a banner they put up on the screen. And it said, by the way, Finn Balor versus Roman Reigns is now an Extreme Rules match. So there's that.
Whatever that means. I mean, is that like no holds barred? Is that,
I guess,
anything goes?
Sure, which
we'll just call it an Extreme Rules match.
which I got to be honest, Extreme Rules match makes me think the Demon's definitely losing. Due to probably shenanigans by the Usos and stuff, because with Extreme Rules there's no DQ, so the Usos can interfere.
There's also a world of people who want to see the table lose.
There are. I just don't think they're ready to do that yet. But that's my point, is I think if this is their way of being able to have Finn Balor lose, but not, or the Demon lose specifically, but not really lose because it wasn't a fair fight, because it was an Extreme Rules match.
Look how over Roman is. He beat the Demon.
Yeah. Other than that, technically you could argue that the addition of Jeff Hardy to the Damian Priest versus Sheamus match turning into a triple threat, that's an Extreme Rule. It's not, because triple threat, I mean, we had one on Raw this week, right? It's nothing new, Yeah.
But so my challenge to you, and I think you kind of knew where this was going as soon as I said that, based on some of the stuff you said, is to define, we'll say 8 matches that are Extreme Rules, that are unique, that we don't see very often. So I don't want you to just whip out here and be like tables match, chairs match, kendo stick match. I want you to go a little bit edgy. Well, kendo stick we don't see very often, but and you can use ones that already exist, or you can make one up. If you want a Lily on a pole match, We make that joke, but WWE really doesn't use Liliana Pole that often or anything like that. But 8 matches of the setups that we have. You don't have to use the bookings that we've got. It would be easier if you use the bookings that we have already. But just, no left shoe is one of the extreme match rules. Whatever. You can do a 3-legged race match. You can do just capture the flag match. Just goofy ass shit that should be. Now, I'd like them to seem like they're actual Extreme Rules, but I don't give a rip if it's a gauntlet match by gauntlet. I'm talking American Gladiators Gauntlet. You both have to run to the end and try and capture the flag that's next door.
I will say at least most of mine are going to be based off ones that have existed, but we just have not seen in a while.
Yeah,
especially from WWE, right? We've got 6 matches already scheduled for Extreme Rules. So I only would have to make up 2 matches. So my thought process here, I'm just going to kind of go down the list here. And this is pulling up because I already had the Wikipedia page up because it was
ready and waiting.
It was sort of tangentially related to what I'm going to do later, but that's beside the point. Becky Lynch versus Bianca Belair. I would do that as a 4-corner strap match. We've seen one recently in AEW, but we have not seen a 4-corner strap match in WWE
I think we determined it was Eddie versus JLB was the last time, or JBL was the last time we saw.
There have been some strap matches relatively recently, or chain matches or whatever.
Yeah, it was just a weapon in the ring.
Yeah, but it was just they're chained together and they could use it as a weapon. It wasn't a 4 corners, and the 4 corners I think is what makes strap matches really compelling to me, because the whole concept is you're strapped to each other. You have to get them. Not just
is it 4 corners in sequence on this one then, or is it not in sequence?
4 corners in sequence, right? And just like the rules, if too much time passes in between 2, the sequence breaks, right? Or if you get struck in between the 2, the sequence breaks. Or if you take time,
if your opponent turns you around and makes you hit one somewhere else, that's starting over in that one.
Exactly. So. But it also adds the extreme rule of the strap, the extreme using it as a weapon. And I think that's something that could be really fun for this sort of rivalry. And it could be a way to help get some of the heat back onto Bianca Belair, because
she's boring now.
Yeah, she's ice cold right now. And it's like WWE. I mean, I get it. They had her take some time off, and they're trying to slow build it, whatever. But they should have had her come out the day after SummerSlam and deliver a fiery, I got cheated out of it. I want my rematch. I don't care who I have to beat to get another match. I'm going to do it, sort of a thing. And they didn't. They just relied on Becky coming out and delivering promos every week to keep that going, which is fine. I like Becky and everything, but so I think a strap match would be really great for that.
That's the kind of strap that the traditional 15-foot strap, leather strap.
Yeah, leather strap. Yep.
Not a strap match like you would do with women's wrestling in 2001. Not that I would be disappointed in that match.
Yes. No, not that one. Number 2, Damian Priest versus Jeff Hardy versus Sheamus. This one could be a really fun one to be a first blood match.
Ooh.
Because these are all hard hitters. Only one of them's kind of a high flyer, Jeff Hardy, but he's getting older. He can't really do the high flying as much as he could. And so this could be one of those brawls where, like I said, the winner is the first one to draw blood from an opponent.
Or an elimination.
or elimination. Yeah,
First
you
blood.
could do it that way.
First
I like-
and second blood. That'd be the first time ever.
Maybe. But we haven't seen a first blood match in WWE in fucking forever.
Since the era started.
Yeah. In fact, I don't even know if they ever did a first blood match. They might have.
Kane won a first blood match.
Did he?
The title. Yeah.
I didn't.
Kane beat Stone Cold in a first blood match.
I wasn't sure if it was.
How do you make a guy in a mask with a full body suit bleed?
True.
Worst decision ever.
Yeah, well, they eventually made him talk, and that was another bad decision.
Indeed.
So Charlotte Flair versus Alexa Bliss. What can we do with this match? Okay, so I got an idea.
Bet on me and go with Falls Count Anywhere because that's already happened.
Nope.
It happens a lot.
So I've got an idea for it. It being an Extreme Rules match, it can be tied to the storyline that they have right now with Alexa Bliss and Lily, and Charlie, who's been destroyed, sort of, by Charlotte this week. And they really missed a chance to do something fun this week. Because it's like ever since they cut Bray Wyatt, they decided they didn't want Alexa Bliss's character to be supernatural anymore. Now she's just crazy, which is fine. That's what the Fiend always should have been, but they went supernatural with him. But it's like, when was the last time Alexa had any sort of supernatural powers?
Yeah.
Since they let Bray go. So my thought process on this one would be to have I'm trying to think how you would really do it, but it would be a Lily and Charlie Inferno match. Inferno's not the best way to
you have to burn the other person's doll.
A burn at the stake match, right? Where the winner is the first person who is able to light the other one on fire, the other one's doll on fire. And so you'd have the dolls tied to stakes at either side of the ring.
And then you hit a button or something.
Yeah, just some sort of a button, or you have to climb up to get a remote or something. I don't know. It would lead to them being able to bring back the supernatural for Alexa, or should they choose, get rid of it.
Either way.
If
Alexa loses, which is kind of how this type of match has to go. I like that idea because if the doll, her doll doesn't burn, if it's a button or a remote to burn it, and then the fire goes out and her doll is made out of fire retardant material or whatever, so it doesn't burn at all, then suddenly you're like, oh no. And that does bring back some of the I get what you're saying there.
It even brings back the ability, if you want to have the supernatural for Alexa, you could get her to a point where she turns and she looks at Lily and she makes a gesture like no, and the ring posts shoot up fire on Charlie's side and light Charlie on fire, right? Bringing back the supernatural element from before that Alexa and Lily can start fires places, and then you can have Charlotte look over and be like, oh my god,
I lost and I didn't even have a fight.
Yeah, I lost and I didn't have a fight or whatever. So it gives you that. But the better option for me, it would be for Charlotte to win by lighting Lily on fire. And then we get rid of Lily and Alexa can go back to being Alexa.
Turn that gets rid of
the evil possessing Alexa sort of thing. Even though she's the face in this, so she doesn't have, I don't know. It's fucking Weird. Roman Reigns versus the Demon Finn Balor. It's already an Extreme Rules match, but what the fuck does that mean? Who knows?
We already said that.
So we'll come up with some rules for that. What would I do? I might have to come back to this one because I think I have to look something up.
Okay.
On something. So we'll come back to that one. While I figure out something in relationship to that. Anyways, so next one was the Usos versus the Street Profits. Tag team match for the WWE SmackDown Tag Championships.
Unfortunately, WWE recently has started playing with the tornado tag more. So
yeah.
So
I'm gonna go on a tangent here really quickly because there was an article I just saw online before the show, and it was on NXT. WWE instituted a new tag, or maybe it was on Raw. Yesterday, instituted a new tag team rule, and they presented this like it was a new tag team rule that we'd never heard of before. And as soon as I tell you the tag team rule, you're going to remember that they did this like a year ago because we talked about it on our show.
Okay.
About it. So it's not a new rule. It's just they're sporadic at enforcing it. And it's a dumb rule, but it's not new. It's not new today, at least. It's been around for at least a year. And that's a team is only allowed one save per tag team match.
Right? Yeah, I did see that kind of come back because they mentioned it in the Nikki Ash and
Natalia.
Yeah.
And so, but the article was all it was like someone like Sean Ross Sapp or someone like that who was like, yeah, they didn't, they just implemented it and it's never been talked about before. I'm like, no, it was fucking talked about a year ago. It was a big deal because we had all this stuff like when's that a rule? And they're like, well, it's always technically been a rule. Well, that's news to us. So they implemented it like a year ago, and then they stopped caring about it, and now they're apparently caring about it again. But it's not a new rule. It wasn't apparently a new rule a year ago.
One save per person or something like that?
One save per team, I think.
Okay.
So if Nikki saves Rhea, then they can't.
Rhea doesn't get a save Nikki later.
Get a save later or something. It's dumb. It's a dumb rule. I understand the reasoning behind it. They probably got tired of matches that were just nonstop near falls with interference saves. Near fall with save, near fall with save, near fall, and everything. But it's just a dumb rule. But my biggest thing on this is I saw this article and I was like, well, that's not new. We literally, we go back through our archives. I guarantee you we can find an episode from a year and a half. It had to be more than a year ago because I think it was pre-COVID when we talked about it. So a year and a half ago, where we talked about it. I'm 90% certain it was after JLB joined, though.
Well, the other piece to that is if you don't want to have that, then make it what it is, and that's a disqualification.
Mm-hmm.
Without being tagged in, it's a DQ.
Yeah. Or a 3 strikes and you're out DQ. You know what I mean? Say, since you're the tag partner, we're going to, but if you do it again, that's another strike or whatever. I don't know. But here's the biggest thing, right? If you don't want it to happen in your matches, then you realize you script those things, right?
What?
Like just tell the wrestlers to stop doing it.
By script, you mean like they practice beforehand, not knowing what the other team is going to do, and it's all real, right?
Sure. Yes. Anyways, Usos versus Street Profits. This has to be some form of. I think we're gonna do an over the top rope eliminator tag team match, meaning you eliminate your opponent by throwing them over the top rope, both feet hitting the ground, right? But it's individual members eliminated, so you have to eliminate both members of the other team by throwing them over the top rope. I think we need to add something else into it, though. So
you can't get a fall until you've sent both of the other members over the top rope.
No, I think lumberjack is the next thing to add to it. So there's lumberjacks around the ring, so you can't slide out under the bottom rope and go out to the bottom, or whatever, because you're going to get beat up by the lumberjacks out there. And since it's Extreme Rules, these lumberjacks are going to be armed, right? With like
Jesus,
barbed wire baseball bats and shit like that.
Okay.
So yeah.
Which also means that occasionally they're going to save the other guy.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
yeah.
Hold on, Montez.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, that's the deal.
You're light and any of us can catch you, so let's just put you back in.
Yeah, and that's the deal. Is in fact, it leads to a lot of fun stuff like that. Someone gets thrown over the top rope, but New Day style gets caught on the outside. In fact, that could lead into the feud with the New Day versus the Usos. That they've been teasing right now, anyways.
Teasing the hell they did it on Monday night.
Yeah, they did it, but they did it with Roman involved. Which, oh man, I got a bone to pick with that match, but now's not the time. Remind me after I'm done booking this. Because that was fucking horse shit, is what it was. But so yeah, you could have like Usos throw Montez Ford, since you brought him up, out, but the New Day catch him and carry him back and roll him back into the ring. And you could even have that happen a couple times, you know what I mean, to really drive home to the Usos that you're gonna have to find a different way to do it.
Well,
just throw them out a different way.
Under the same token, you can have Jay jump over the top to I don't know, just stand on the ring apron because he's gonna do a shoulder block when the guy comes
springboard something or other. Yeah.
And then New Day just grabs both of his feet and pulls them off. Puts both of his feet on the ground.
Yeah. There's all sorts of fun they can do with that there. And then of course, after that happens, there's a brawl with the New Day, and the New Day have and everything, all sorts of fun. So that one's okay. Liv Morgan versus Carmela. This is the last Live Morgan. Yeah, Live Morgan. Just in case you're confused.
Trying to help you out.
Liv Morgan versus Carmela. This is the last of the ones aside from the Roman Reigns match I mentioned earlier. That's already made. So I'm gonna have to make up two more. But Liv Morgan versus Carmela. Jeez. It's just so the tough thing with this.
Sorry.
The tough thing with this one is neither of them really have characters right now. You know what I mean? Like Liv Morgan's just kind of the underdog who never got respect, sort of thing.
There was a mockery of doing makeup.
Yeah. And then Carmela was brought back with much fanfare, and then that gimmick dropped entirely after like 2 weeks because they decided they wanted Reggie over on Raw.
Make one up. Create your own.
I'm trying to create one. It's just like I say, so much of the time, like when you create a gimmick match for two people, so often it has to come from their, like the Inferno match came from the fact that you're talking about it's Kane who's a demon or whatever.
You can do a blindfold match. It's about somebody's beauty, and so now they both have to wear a sack over their head and they can't see. Of course, we know they can, but those are usually garbage matches.
Yeah, they're pretty garbage. Right. I was thinking, trying to figure out how to make it Extreme Rules. The match I'm aiming for with this is going to be a hair versus hair match. Because I think since it's beauty based and all this stuff, neither Carmela nor Liv Morgan really probably want to have their heads shaved.
You could dye their hair. Since they're both light colored hair.
Yeah. I think here's the deal. I think Liv Morgan could totally rock a shorter hairstyle and be fine. I don't think Carmela could, not with her current character, but Liv Morgan's character could do, shorter hair.
Women's empowerment type thing.
Yeah. So I think she could lose easily. But the struggle with it is I want to figure out a way to have it be an Extreme Rule. You know what I mean? Because just having, that's just a stipulation, the hair versus hair. That's not an Extreme Rule for the match. So
they each have their own pair of scissors and they're out. No, that could go wildly awry.
That could go really wrong. A barbershop match.
In the barbershop. Well, they can't do a barbershop. It'd be hairstylist match.
Yeah.
Nobody wants Brutus back.
Yeah, they could still do a barbershop match, and nobody wants Brutus back, but nobody wants Goldberg back, and they keep bringing him back.
So. Okay, here's a question for you, a little side thing. Which one would you rather have back?
Jesus fucking Christ, I don't know. Surprisingly, I probably would say Brutus, if only for this, because I know it'd be a one-time thing. Brutus comes back
4 times a year.
Yeah, Brutus comes back. It's going to be a one-time appearance. He's going to do his stupid shtick, and then he's going to disappear. And he's going to suck either way. So, in fact, you could leave to a spot where Shawn Michaels shows up and super kicks him through a window. Says, "There, now you're gone." I don't know, but
let's get rid of Marty.
But yeah, a beauty shop match. And so the goal is you win by strapping your opponent into the hair chair.
Okay.
So the match would happen inside the ring, but on the ramp or the stage, there would be a beauty salon chair, right? So you have to beat them up enough to take them out there and strap them in. And then after you won, you would have the ability to
cut their hair.
Preferably
not the shaving part. Just
have
somebody come out with some scissors and I got it. And that'll be the end of it.
Pretty much, yeah.
Fixed.
Yep, a ponytail match where you grab the ponytail.
Yeah.
I don't know. So
2 more matches.
Well, I still have to do the Roman, so technically 3 more matches. Trying to do the Roman match. I'm trying to figure out how to do this here. I can't really do it that way because it kind of gives away the ending. So I'm just going through my thought process here for the Roman Reigns versus Demon Finn Balor. Balor as a name comes from Irish mythology.
Okay.
And the demon actually comes from that as well, because in Irish mythology, Balor actually had to fight the demon to save Ireland or some shit like that. I don't know the whole story. So I was trying to figure out a way to tie it into that. And I'm like, well, there's he famously took part in a battle, and I could say the Battle of Mag Tured. But famously,
say it wrong.
I said it wrong, I'm sure. But he is killed in that, and that kind of gives away the ending if you name it after the battle that his namesake died in. So I think I'm gonna have to scrap that plan. So a demon match with a demon who really isn't known to be supernatural in any way, shape, or form. A Drag Me to Hell match. Trying to figure out if that would be. This is Sparta match. The winner is the one who kicks someone off the top of a tall thing into a pit. Doesn't really fit the demon, but it would be really fun to see Balor kick Roman off of something.
Or Roman to be going for a spear and Balor just to step out of the way.
Yeah.
This is
I think the real thing is to switch away from Balor and look more at Roman for the inspiration for this. And Roman is the head of the table. So how can we make a variation of a table match that's not stupid, not just table?
Tables from Hell match. Demons Hell. The table has to be lit on fire before you put the guy through it.
I think, God, I want to use this, but the only example I have of this ever before was really shitty. And so I'm not sure it's something we want to do because it's not a. But I was thinking a scaffold match, a scaffold tables match, where
you have to do it from the top of the scaffold.
You have to, throw them off the scaffold through the table. So you can have tables all around.
Trying to get a guy up a scaffolding.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Pain in the butt.
Yeah. And famous. The reason I say the only one I can remember, and maybe there have been other ones I just don't remember. The only one I can remember was one where Jim Cornette fell and broke up his hip, like destroyed his hip or something like that.
They should do that again.
Yes, they should. They should totally with Jim Cornette.
Yes,
it should be like you're reenacting that, complete with the busted hip.
Hey, congratulations! We're hiring you. All right, I'm not irrelevant. Well, for one match.
For one match, it's a scaffold match. So no, I think that's the way, a scaffold tabled match. And I think there's a way they could really interestingly, like they could set up multiple tables, like not just around. They could have table spots outside that don't win the match because they weren't from off the scaffold.
Yeah, sure.
And then they could set up multiple tables in positions where you didn't know which way they were going to come off the scaffold into the table. And you could even have them set up like a stack of tables, like 2 or 3 tall, that would be the final one. So he's not going all the way down and just through one table, but he goes, choo, choo, choo. You know what I mean? Or something. I don't know. They absorb the impact a bit, but so now 2 more matches.
Still have on play one tag team title.
Yes.
You have 2. You have
technically 2. You got the women's tag team titles, yes,
and one WWE championship.
Mm-hmm. And that's the so we're definitely going to get
and the ICs, and the IC, and the US.
Yeah. Well, that's it. We're definitely going to get a rematch, Bobby Lashley versus Big E. I almost guarantee you. And so
I feel like that's Goldberg interference.
It very easily could be.
Because
Crown Jewel is the next one, so they need to do something to set it up. So I think what fits?
What fits? What fits?
So this one would have to be cinematic.
Okay.
Which means it's unlikely to happen. But it's unlikely to happen for lots of reasons. But I think a church match.
Okay.
Because Big E is part of the New Day, who famously their original gimmick was Southern self-help church style things. And Bobby Lashley is the Almighty.
Okay.
So a church match, a sanctuary match, maybe?
Baptistry match. They have to baptize their opponent in the church baptistry.
Could be the way to do it. Could be the way to do it. There's lots of reasons it's not going to happen. Number one, Vince McMahon has had no fear in pissing off a lot of groups, but churches have been one that he's kind of stayed away from, except for in the Attitude Era when he wrestled God. I guess he did beat God, so maybe
in a mock-up though.
Oh yeah, it was a mock match. Yeah, it was but it's still.
It was to make him more heel, and it succeeded at it.
Yeah, it succeeded, and so. But I mean, I just think if you have it in a sanctuary that leads to lots of great spots of like spears through railings and suplexes through pews, like you could gimmick up a bunch of pews with particle boards.
Yeah, you ain't doing that with real pews.
No, not real pews, but gimmicked pews. It would actually look really impressive.
You could have Kofi run along the backs of pews
to
get involved.
Yeah. So I think that's the way we do it there.
Okay.
A heresy match. Anyways. So
I was hoping you'd go with a Bootios match there in the traditional pigpen match or slime match, and it's just a bowl of Bootios, a giant baby pool of Bootios to throw your opponent into. The Bootios aren't released right now, so
yeah. So that leaves one more match, and I just got to decide: do I want to do the Raw tag teams,
or the women's tag,
or the women's tag?
Nikki ASH and Rhea Ripley.
And so they
or you could go with a feud that just started in Nia and
Nia and Shayna. Although I suspicion we're not going to see Shayna. Not going to see Nia for a few weeks because they sell her injury. So I doubt we're going to see that much.
That arm was not broken.
Yeah.
I had to read you guys' text. I'm like,
when JLB sent that, I was like, and I hadn't watched. Because when you've got a 3-year-old, sometimes you have to pause Raw to put 3-year-old to bed or whatever. So I was behind, but he sent. Shayna broke Nia's arm. I was like, wait. The wording of that is suspicious. And she did her arm break gimmick thing on the stairs. Steel steps too. It's entirely kayfabe,
Yeah.
And so I was like, yeah, your wording was a little bit. But it's still, it was kind of fun because Nia sold the hell out of it.
So did Shayna. Shayna
yeah.
sold the hell out of I'm concerned, but I need to beat the crap out of you.
Mm-hmm.
I'm concerned I hurt you.
It's almost the you remember the gimmick they were doing with Randy Orton about a year ago,
yeah,
where he was turning on people, but he's like, I don't want to RKO you, but I have to, you know what I mean, sort of thing. But just the squealing from Nia prior to it. So that's how
it really wasn't very good. That was a horrible sell on Nia's behalf.
She sold the hell out of it. I'm not a Nia fan, but she did as best she could with this particular gimmick. But anyways,
you gotta pick one of those.
So I don't think they're gonna do that, but I still have the IC, and
Universal
and the US title, and US is Nakamura, right?
IC is Nakamura.
IC is Nakamura because US is on.
US is actually being fought for. That's Sheamus and
oh yes, yeah, you're correct. Yes, so I have the IC or the women's tag, or I could put together a match that's not any of those.
It's not related at all,
sort of thing.
Or the Raw tag.
I think Nakamura versus someone would be way.
Well, he has a match on Friday against is it Apollo? Yeah, Apollo Crews.
Sorry,
You're fine, bud. You are fine. Wonderful. Wonderful.
Nakamura. They haven't done anything with Happy Corbin trying to get his King gimmick back since coming back as Happy Corbin. So maybe they set that up. So yeah, I think I'm gonna do Nakamura versus Happy Corbin for the IC belt and the King title, because Happy Corbin wants to become King again. And it is going to be in a trying to figure out what's a good way to tie gambling into this. You know what? It's going to be a roulette weapons match. Or maybe you do it instead of roulette, you do slot machine match. So the whole thing is going to be set up where similar to like a kendo stick on a pole match or whatever, right? Where the whole idea is that you get to the pole, you get the kendo stick, and then you can use it to help you win the match. But instead of it being on a pole, there's going to be a slot machine, and you have to debilitate your opponent enough that you can go and put the giant comically large coin into the stupid looking slot machine and pull the handle, and it's going to come up with the jackpot of what weapon you get. And so you could have kind of a whole thing. Does he get to have a chair? Does he get to have a barbed wire bat? Does he get to have a kendo stick? Who knows? Who knows what he's going to get to help him win this match? But this ties in with Happy Corbin winning his money back. Although I do want to point out, there's still a sort of, I'm looking for a loophole, plot hole in the Happy Corbin thing, because like 2 weeks before he won money in Vegas to be back, he said he needed like $100,000 a day.
Yes.
And then he won like $200,000 or something like that. You know what I mean? In Vegas. And now he's suddenly rich again. I'm like, that's, according to your own words, that's 2 days. It's not.
Yeah.
That's really not a lot, actually. I mean, it'd be a lot to you or I. Right.
Yeah, 200,000 would do just fine for me for a while.
Yeah. But, if your whole thing is you need $200,000 a day or $100,000 a day, that's not a lot. Anyways, that's beside the point. So with that, it allows you to have some fun weapons-based stuff. Nakamura could win by unlocking some weapon, but choosing not even to use it because he knows he can beat Happy Corbin with the Kinshasa by himself anyways. So yeah, boom. 8 matches done.
I'm telling you, I'm sad that you didn't have the 3-story ring cage.
I really thought about it. I just couldn't figure out a storyline to put that in right now.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because I thought about it. I'm like, 3 stages of hell match. How do we do that?
How do I get that back?
How do I do that, bro?
I think some type of I really like the idea of a one-legged match. You're not blindfolded. No, you don't have an arm tied behind your back that you can get loose. Your feet are tied together. I think that would just be a lot of fun.
I don't know. I think I'd have more fun watching the Invisible Man versus Invisible Stan, which you actually can watch on YouTube, and it is a whole lot of fun.
Yes, you can.
So moving on, we will do my challenge. My challenge is a little bit tamer but it is also, like I said, tangentially related to what we just did there, because it's based on real events right now. This is going to be one of the few episodes of this where neither of our things are highly unlikely. Because I just booked all 6 of the matches I booked are in some form or another taking place, right?
Yeah.
The matches
aren't going to take place necessarily in this format.
In that format, but they're going to take place. So what I want you to do is we're going to switch over to AEW, because AEW has a 2-night pay-per-view level event this week of Grand Slam. And they're putting together some phenomenal matches for it. Some ones that are really exciting to think about. So
Okay.
I'm going to throw out, let's say, 6 of them. And I want you to book how you would do them. And who you would have be the winner.
As an extreme rule or what?
Just as the rules are. I mean, you have the leeway to do however you want.
Okay.
But like I said, this is AEW, so it's not extreme rules based. This is AEW side, so they can be just solid matches. But like I say, some of these are ones that you are in sort of a corner on. So the matches I want you to book are from AEW Dynamite, which is coming up tomorrow night. We've got Britt Baker versus Ruby Soho in only, I believe, her 3rd AEW match since coming. For the women's title, you've got Cody Rhodes against Malachi Black. Cody Rhodes returning from almost retirement to face Malachi Black. And you've got Bryan Danielson versus Kenny Omega in a non-title match, right? On Rampage, you've got CM Punk versus Powerhouse Hobbs. That one might actually be one of the easier ones to book. But it is still tough. You got the 6-man tag match with Christian Cage and Jurassic Express versus the Elite, including Adam Cole, Matt Jackson, and Nick Jackson. And then you've got Men of the Year with Dan Lambert, so that's Ethan Page and Scorpio Sky, versus the Inner Circle, Chris Jericho and Jake Hager. Right. So those are the 6 matches. I want you to book how you would have the match go, who's going to win, and why.
Well, let's just start from the beginning, and you'll need to remind me as we go through.
Okay.
So, number 1, we're going to start with Brit and Ruby, since that's the first one you said. Brit and Ruby. I'm going to make that a submission match. I'm going to have Brit change it up on Ruby and just be like, that's fine. We can have our match. I'm going to add a little stipulation. You've managed to go to AEW Brass and get my girls banned from ringside. I don't think you have a submission maneuver. So what happens is Ruby goes and talks to AEW Brass, says, you know, I understand that I feel very, very blessed to have this opportunity. I don't want it to be squandered on outside interference. I want all of Brit's people banned from ringside. And they say, okay, we'll give you that, but you have to give her a stipulation in return. And at that point, Brit says, here's my stipulation. It's a submission match. We haven't really seen one in AEW. It's a great heel tactic on Britt Baker's behalf to assume that Ruby does not have a submission maneuver in her repertoire, which she will. I mean, all she has to do is just choose one, you know. And so we're going to make that a submission match. I do still have Britt Baker win. I had Britt Baker win by Ruby not having a perfectly executed submission. Ruby tries several submissions. She tries a crossface. She tries a sharpshooter / scorpion death block. Yes, I know that they're not the same, but in this instance, you know, we're going to go that route. She tries the reverse cloverleaf that Rhea Ripley has. She tries several different versions of different things and just cannot get Britt Baker in a position where she will tap, mostly because of execution. It's not that she's not capable of it, but she's only had a couple minutes to prepare. And okay, I do know how to do a figure 4. I suppose I'll try a figure 4. I'll try this. I'll try that. It also allows for fun things like when Ruby's trying the figure 4 to go woo to the crowd as a big middle finger, you know, type thing. And so I think that adds a lot of fun. Britt wins because Britt Baker really still is the face of that division, and she wins with lockjaw. It's just the right move to have. So, not that I don't love the idea of Ruby Soho AEW Women's Champion at some point, just not 3 matches in.
Yeah, that's why I chose these specific matches. They all provide a sort of a dilemma as to how do you keep someone strong with the ending, right? Because they all feature people who are at least in some way relatively new and relatively over with the crowd in a situation where you might want them to lose.
Yeah.
So the next one that I said was Malachi Black versus Cody Rhodes. Of course, Malachi Black's been destroying people left and right. Cody Rhodes recently came back. Now they've got a match.
I really like the idea of a guy that strikes like Malachi Black having a little bit of a winning streak. Not 173 and 0. Don't even try and pretend he's 173 and 0, whatever. But easily to 50 wins in a row because of his ability to hit the black mass out of nowhere. I love the idea of him of literally Cody getting in the ring, doing his little pros, bell rings, and boom, out goes Cody. I have that as a traditional match, not because Cody isn't great, but because Cody still just had a kid, or hasn't had the kid yet.
Had the kid, yep.
Had the kid, just had a kid. Gonna want some time at home. And it's just a really good way to build up Malachi Black. And not that Cody isn't capable of beating Malachi Black, but he just doesn't know what's going to hit him next, with this guy, and so it knocks him out, and then you can have some vignettes. Did I show you the coffee?
You did, yeah, vignettes.
Some vignettes that Cody's trying to set himself up to be more prepared for the types of attacks that can come out of nowhere. So that's what I do with that one. And that instantaneously builds Malachi Black as a threat for everyone.
Mm-hmm.
And it builds Cody based on the character we know he already has.
Yeah.
That he's still the guy who will, even though Christian Cage used this, outwork everyone.
That was more or less my thoughts on this one. Just to go into commentary mode for a bit, you absolutely have to have Malachi Black win this one. No ifs, ands, or buts. This has to be a situation where Cody puts over the new guy, but you can do it in a way that Cody still looks good in it.
Yeah,
by putting in the work, hitting his submissions, hitting a lot of his finishers, but getting caught with that black mass.
Yeah. You can do it in this match. You can build Cody in this match, or you can build Cody with vignettes.
Exactly.
I personally choose to build Cody with vignettes because I think it makes Malachi Black looks that much more dominant. And I do want Cody to come back and get the win, but I wanted it like New Year's Revolution, or at AEW Revolution, not New Year's Revolution, but at Revolution. I don't want it at Full Gear. I don't want it right around the corner. I want Cody to show I have to work this much harder. I'm still running the company. They have the dang TV series for that.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm still running the company. I'm still working my tail off behind the scenes. I now have a kid. What time of day am I going to get up and do my workouts so that I can be more prepared for a spinning heel kick that knocks everyone it comes up against out cold?
And I'm fine with the idea of Cody not getting this win back. That this being the win that he can't get, right, for whatever reason. But that still puts over Malachi Black. And you can then have Cody come back and go on a winning streak against other people. But in the end, I like the idea of Malachi Black getting just a solid win streak over him. Anyways, and like I said, it could, in my mind, it can be a 10-minute match where Cody Rhodes tries everything and Malachi Black just seems to have an answer for everything and then hits the black mass. And
mine is the out of no. I really want to establish that out of nowhere so much that if there's a ding on a bell, you better be worried that there's a foot coming in your face.
Yep. And that's the deal is you can have in that match, you can have there be an attempted black mass in the first second of the match.
Yeah.
Right. Ding, swing, Cody barely ducks out of the way.
Or gets hit and falls out of the ring.
Yep, or something, right? Anyways, third match was Bryan Danielson versus Kenny Omega. It's a non-title match, which does give you a little bit more leeway with winner because it's non-title.
Full Gear's next, right?
Yep, in 2 months. Just under 2 months.
This
is like November 13th.
This isn't the time to have Hangman come back. This is the time to have Hangman steal, or have Bryan Danielson steal Hangman's moveset. I think that's a really good move here. I think you can play the distraction card. It's just a traditional match, and a broomstick was less predictable than you are, Bryan Danielson, and so Bryan Danielson is attacking, and Kenny Omega is just constantly dodging everything he has. And that's when Bryan Danielson throws in Hangman's moveset to get the win. Not Bryan Danielson's moveset, but Hangman's, including the buckshot lariat, or get the near fall. I want the near fall off of Hangman's buckshot lariat. So he does Hangman's buckshot lariat, says, I wanted to go with a set of moves that I knew could beat you, selling Hangman without saying Hangman's name, because he's on leave temporarily, but not having to say his name or anything like that, and that opens the door for him to get a label lock and get the win. I do like the idea of a distraction. I think the right person for that distraction is photographer dork that follows the group. Where's the mask? What is his name?
Brandon Cutler.
Yeah, Brandon Cutler. Brandon Cutler can be the reason for the distraction, coming out to take pictures. But I don't mind the idea of one of Hangman's moves, and it doesn't have to be that. I just think that's the most obvious one, where you have him do some type of Hangman Page move to set up so he can actually do his label lock. That's where I go with that. I think it sells to the future with Hangman Page coming back. He can say, immediately afterwards, he can be like, I had to use something I knew could beat Kenny. Mine didn't, but it allowed me the opportunity to put him in the label lock. That also gives you a title match later, 2-3 weeks from now, with Bryan Danielson against Kenny, for Kenny to win very, very cleanly and overwhelmingly. But it sells a moveset from the eventual guy who to beat Kenny, I think, which is Hangman. And so still, leaves both of them walking away smelling like roses. So
okay. So then the next one on the cards that we talked about would be, this one's going to be on Rampage, and I'm trying to remember which one I did next. I think I did CM Punk versus Powerhouse Hobbs next, so we'll just go with that one.
I have no clue how I do this one. You sold me a good point with the idea of Powerhouse winning. I think shenanigans need to be involved if that's the case.
100%.
Yeah. I kind of want shenanigans involved from a new member of Taz's clique. So not just 3, then it goes back up to 4, since Brian Cage is gone. Yeah, I go with I go ahead and have Powerhouse Hobbs win via shenanigans. I would like to see the first application of the Anaconda Vice in AEW. It's fine if it doesn't win because of the shenanigans. It's fine if CM Punk's pissed off at whomever causes said shenanigans, and then it's fine if Powerhouse gets the win because CM Punk was distracted. And then that also opens the door for a 10-minute promo about, I guess I was distracted. That, seriously, the only person who could pull off that 10-minute promo is CM Punk. That is the strongest thing he has, is what the fuck promos that just last way too long, but God, they're good the whole way through.
Okay. Next one I talked about was 6-man tag: Christian Cage and Jurassic Express versus the Elite: Adam Cole, Matt Jackson, and Nick Jackson. This one, like I said, is tough because Christian Cage is really over. The Jurassic Express is super over.
Yes.
And obviously being pushed to be the next
team to knock off.
Yeah, next team to go, right? But you also have a debuting Adam. Well, this will be a second match, but debuting in tag division, Adam Cole with Matt and Nick Jackson. This also may be setting the groundwork for a trios title. Yes, because so outside of actual news, Beltman Dan, who famously is one of the people that AEW has used to make belts, has teased that he's working on a new AEW belt. And it could be a women's tag belt. It could be a women's mid-card belt. It could be a trios belt. We don't know. Those are three options that I think are likely.
I don't think this leads into the trios because I don't think Jurassic Express and Kenny or Jurassic Express and Christian Cage are long-term alliances. I
agree there. I think it may directly, depending on how it ends, but it could directly lead into it with the Super Click. If they win, yes. They could then go on a
I think the tirade about Jurassic Express is Kazarian. If you want a trios group.
In fact, the Super Click, this easily could be a way for them to establish a trios division, as in they win, they announce that they're the dominant trios group in AEW, and as that they name themselves, they use their powers as EVPs to debut a new belt just for them, sort of a thing.
Since they lost their last belts.
Yep.
We can have a belt.
Yeah, we're gonna have our own belts. We can just make one. Anyways, but how would you book it?
That'd be great because Death Triangle would come out and just immediately challenge him for it. Anyway, sorry. I have a feud. I have all 6 of them feud at some point, but Jurassic Express versus the Young Bucks, I think that pushes to the back. I think what you want out of this match is to really get that Christian Cage, Adam Cole. You can get a friendly banter. I've never lost to Christian Cage, out of that from Adam Cole. I don't need an Impact title. I've never lost to Christian Cage. Where Kenny's basically saying, "Yeah, go get the Impact title, bud." Yeah, kind of hinting to something that's going to occur at AEW time. Just around the corner, in 3.5 years, because they don't fast play any storylines, and so you can have the chase out of the building between the Young Bucks and Jurassic Express. Yes, we want all the spots with Jungle Boy. Yes, we want the spots with the Young Bucks. We want all of that to show up. But I think at the end of this, you have Adam Cole and Christian Cage, and I think you have the Impact champion lose to Adam Cole. And I think that plays into a couple weeks down the line. Kenny being, we're all the best in the world. I'm the very best in the world, but we're as a team, we're also the best faction in the world. Yeah. I've never lost to Christian Cage. You saw me in that tag match a little while back. It ended up being 1-on-1. So that's how great we are. We really are. All of us together are the best in the world. Yeah.
Because makes no doubt about it. At some point in the future,
happening.
Adam Cole is definitely turning on Kenny Omega.
Yes.
It's 100% happening, and it may actually happen with the Young Bucks siding with Adam Cole over Kenny Omega. That very well might happen as well.
In particular, if Kevin Steen is signed to AEW. In particular, because that's another faction that you can build. in particular, if Kevin Steen is signed and Kenny Omega says, well, I got friends too. And, maybe he keeps Brandon Cutler and says, there's this redheaded guy that's going to come in, from Canada. I got some Canadian buddies coming in.
Well, and then you've got Mount Rushmore versus the elite with the Good Brothers involved as well. You know what I mean?
Good Brothers, Sami Zayn and Kenny Omega, who aren't really the elite, but he says, well, I have elite friends too, other elite friends. And so you can get that. So in particular, if Kevin Steen signs with them, you may very well see that. You're right, sooner than later. Especially if they have Blood and Guts be an annual thing. That could be by Blood and Guts. And then you have Adam Cole brag up, I've never lost one of these types of matches either. So that's fine. We'll do one of these. I did something like this really, really similar. Well, maybe it was a dream. I don't know. I was out of it for a while, But I feel like I've done stuff like this before. Yeah. And those two are there left and right. So, I think that's happening. That's why I kind of want to see Adam Cole versus Christian Cage finish that out. Nothing against Christian Cage. Again, Christian Cage will do wonders for that Impact Championship, or that TNA Championship, whichever one you want to call it. But it opens the door for Adam Cole to say, I've never lost to Christian Cage, and just leave it at that. Because that's how AEW builds these, and Adam Cole builds that really well.
Yep.
So that's where I go with that.
Okay. And then the final one that I challenged was Men of the Year. That's Ethan Page and Scorpio Sky with Dan Lambert, because they're building up that whole thing, versus Chris Jericho and Jake Hager of the Inner Circle.
God, I dang near make that a beatdown. I don't know how else to do that. I mean, Jake Hager obviously can now take bumps, which is a plus. But I dang near make Scorpio Sky and Ethan Page just annihilate Jericho and Hager. Not because of a riff, not because Hager can easily be distracted by Jake Hager or by Dan Lambert, and then the two of them can beat on Jericho. Scorpio Sky should have been the first guy to knock off Jericho. I really wanted to see that happen. I wanted to see him be the AEW original that won it. And he could have lost it quickly, and that wouldn't have hurt anybody at all. You remember that match, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
So they're heels now. I don't like Scorpio Sky as a heel. I love Ethan Page as a heel, so I can deal with it for a short while. But I think tops a 6-minute match, and I think it's 4.5 minutes of what's their nickname? Gosh dang it. The Ethan Page and Scorpio Sky.
Men of the Year.
Men of the Year. That's what it is. Their moniker. Sorry. I think it's 4.5 minutes of them dominating. Yes, there's going to be moments where Hager and Jericho have their wins, but I'd really love to see that just be about building somebody else up. So that's actually the route I would go, and I think you would probably disagree with me on that one.
I don't know, because here's the deal: is that one. Part of why that one's tough, and that's why I chose it, is, Chris Jericho hasn't won a lot recently. He won the one versus MJF, and he is super over with the crowd. Jake Hager, not so much, but that's another altogether. And Ethan Page and Scorpio Sky are super over as heels, I think. And the whole Dan Lambert thing, that's where it's tough, because Dan Lambert was brought in obviously to bring do all the AEW sucks promos, get the cheap heat.
Yep.
And he's good at it. He does it well. I'm not knocking him on that, but he was brought in for that.
He's no Don Callis in terms of just I fucking hate this guy.
Yeah, but along the same lines, like this is going to be the first match that he's involved with, so you kind of have to give it to Men of the Year, right?
Yeah,
because you can't build him up as this disruptive nature in,
well, and I think that's the advantage of having him run from Hager, then it doesn't hurt Jericho to get his ass kicked by two dudes.
Yeah.
Like nobody goes, oh, Jericho.
It also could lead to some points where like Hager chases him to the back, and then you have a vignette in the back where other members of America's Power Team or whatever.
Hell, Pinnacle.
Yeah. Well, no, because I mean the big thing, with Dan Lambert is he legitimately runs. I can't even remember what the name of the fucking thing is, but America top team, top guys, top fighter. I don't even know. The MMA group, legitimate MMA fighters, right? And so Jake Hager chases him to the back, and then you've got the legitimate MMA fighters there, which plays up with Jake Hager being a legitimate MMA fighter, although not to the level that, I mean, let's be honest, he's 3-0 in MMA fights, I think. But these aren't UFC level fights. These aren't Bellator level fights.
No.
You know what I mean?
No.
So, but you could build up, you could even have a brawl breakout backstage, and then a bunch of people have to come in and break it up and pull them all apart. But because of that, Jake Hager isn't in the ring to help Chris Jericho out, and the Men of the Year beat him up. So, I mean, effectively, that could be the same thing that happens there.
That's what I was going with. So, yeah, that's that one.
But in the end, I have to say it's the same sort of thing I was saying on Sunday night's show. Is right now the card for Grand Slam, both Dynamite and Rampage, is a little bit more exciting than the card for Extreme Rules, mostly because there's only one stipulation.
And that one's not even defined.
It's not even defined. Yeah,
it's an Extreme Rules match.
Yeah.
So define an Extreme. Tell me how an Extreme Rules match differs from no holds barred, differs from no disqualification, differs from.
Can Finn Balor light Roman Reigns on fire? Is that?
Yeah.
Can he hit him with a car?
Yeah.
Can he stab him?
Can he pin him somewhere else?
Yeah. Can he just fucking pull out a gun and shoot him? We need to know these rules.
Can he make a call for a cage to be lowered out of nowhere? What is an Extreme Rules match? If you don't define it, then you're just sitting there going, "Oh, okay." It's like what makes. So we know what makes a ladder match a ladder match. What makes a table match a table match? What's the purpose in a chairs match?
You can use chairs.
But you get what I'm saying? Like there is two of those have their own definition to them. And then the third one at TLC, you're like,
you get to use chairs.
Yeah, you use chairs if you want. Okay, so this is a no DQ match. Well, only chairs.
No, only chairs, right?
Yeah, use a kendo stick. What?
Yeah, that makes no sense.
Yeah. Oh, you mean the thing that's readily available in an arena of 60,000 people or even just 10,000 people? Readily available item. Oh, and there's probably 65 of them under the ring because those are extras.
Yeah.
So.
But if you grab that kendo stick that's under the ring, you can't use that.
Yeah. Yeah. And so that's where I get frustrated when you say things like, still to this day, I don't have a clue what the difference between a no holds barred and a no DQ match is.
Mm-hmm.
Other people can interfere in a no DQ and they can't in a no holds barred. But there disqualifications in a no holds barred? No,
I mean, there's not supposed to be because no holds are. I mean, that's the what qualifies as a hold, right? no holds are barred.
Is
it's a punch a hold.
Dude holding
There's
the guy?
there's another guy, part of a hold. Yeah, exactly. That brings me to the thing I kind of mentioned earlier that I'm pissed about. So WWE Raw started off this week with a 6-man tag. You had the New Day versus the Bloodline, right?
Bobby Lashley.
And in the middle of that, Big E's on the outside. I think you had Xavier Woods and Roman Reigns on the inside, inside the ring, and everyone else is on the outside. And Bobby Lashley comes along and spears Big E outside the ring, and then proceeds to beat up all of the other members outside the ring.
On both sides.
On both sides, yeah. All of the other members on both sides. While the match, but the entire time the referee inside stood there and watched this happen. Should that not have been a DQ immediately?
Sure, because it's a tag match and those are all participants.
Those were all participants in the tag match, and they were all being attacked by someone outside the match.
Sells a reason for Roman to finally be pissed at him, because here's the deal. The fact that he didn't get disqualified is a loss on Roman's record if you have it that way. There's not history there at all between those two. But there immediately is if you cost. So you have a reason for the last match of the night because you cost the Bloodline the win. Because he would have had the spear on Xavier Woods. And you have a reason for Big E to be pissed at him because he just attacked you when you were already in a match.
Yep. Yeah, so it really would have sold the storyline so much better to do it. But even more than that, I thought the rules were if someone outside the match interferes and attacks a person in the match, then there's a DQ.
Yeah. And that's any one of the 6, whether they're in the ring or not.
Yeah. Exactly. I mean, it doesn't matter. It's just if that had happened in any other match, there should have been a DQ.
This is what happens when you change the booking all the time. So you're Vince McMahon and you change your booking, and when you don't empower your employees to just do certain things, you end up with these undefined moments where you're like, wait a minute, shouldn't that be a DQ? That's interference.
Yes.
In with these 6 people, and it should have been a DQ against the Bloodline, even if he attacks the Bloodline later.
Yes. The first person he attacked was a member of the New Day. Therefore, it should have been a DQ on the Bloodline because he's attacking someone from their opponents. And then Bobby Lashley could still have done everything else he did there and destroy the rest of the Usos and all of that stuff.
You can even have Roman still get the spear and now confused why there is an account from the ref and get up and the ref. And the ref's like, you were disqualified. He attacked one of your opponents. Now you have heat between Roman and Bobby Lashley. You already have the heat between Big E and Lashley. You have historical heat between the Shield and New Day and the Usos and New Day. So New Day has a historical heat with Roman. Now you have a reason for the triple threat, other than I'm pissed off and he cut my match short and he did this. And the build was stupid.
And I'm going to say something here that's going to be surprising, but this was actually the first Raw in a while that wasn't absolutely boring.
No.
But little things like this piss me off.
Yes.
It's just be consistent.
Define your matches. I don't even need to be consistent. I just need to know what the fuck the rule is. What is your rule this time?
Yeah.
Tell me if there's a rule this time. And this is the problem with naming something Extreme Rules match. Well, what is that?
Yeah. I mean,
there's Extreme Rules.
In the end, I can suspend my disbelief a lot. Like when you say it's a no DQ match and the heel doesn't come out and immediately hit the other guy with the chair, right?
I can live through that.
I can live through that. I get it. The heel's going to use the chair as a last resort thing, whatever.
Or a taser for that matter.
Or taser, yeah.
Or a taser.
Yeah, fucking handcuffs and a knife and say, get down or I slit your throat. I don't care.
Yeah.
There's lots of things. I can suspend my disbelief on that. But if the rules of the match say interference should cause a DQ, then interference should cause a DQ. Right?
That should be the end of it. Yep.
So, anyways, we will go ahead and move on to our lovely game of AEW, Ring of Honor, or Impact. This is the game where we challenge each other with 3 wrestlers currently, usually in WWE, and we decide which one of the other places they should go. And so I am going to go with 3 currently NXT people.
Are you going to give me some of the, who the fuck is that guy? Who the fuck is this?
These are all going to be, to be perfectly honest, these are all going to be names. And they're going to be names that right now we might be able to make a good argument that they're being severely misused. So we have got now former Cruiserweight champion Kishida. We've got Johnny Gargano. And I'm going to throw a women's wrestler in here because I don't know what the fuck they're doing with her. I had to look up her name, Frankie Monet, because I had to think of her new name. She just debuted
Taya Valkyrie. Got it.
2 months ago, and they've done fuck all with her. So AEW, Ring of Honor, or Impact.
Frankie Monet to back to Impact. I just feel like the most positive can be done by bringing Taya Valkyrie back to Impact. Who were your other 2?
Kishida and Johnny Gargano.
Okay, just making sure I had it right. I'm gonna go ahead and say Kishida to AEW. I just think those are fire matches, absolutely fire matches. And Gargano to ROH. I don't know that he ever had any time in ROH. I don't want to change any of those. I want Taya. What I want is Taya Valkyrie in WWE. Can I change that to Taya Valkyrie, not Frankie Monet? Taya Valkyrie in WWE. Can we do that?
Oh, it sure would be nice.
But Gargano's not a main eventer, and they're gonna fuck off NXT. So he's not main roster. I'd go to RH in a heartbeat if I was him. I think at this juncture, the AEW roster is too loaded for Gargano to really shine. That's unfortunate, but I think it's true.
I think it can shine if they do a little bit of restructuring, which they might be doing with Dark, right? Where they turn Dark into more of their developmental, more of their NXT, right? And then those matches can be on Dark and not take up time on Dynamite or Rampage. And then they can have a little bit more. But yeah, I mean, here's the deal. Gargano anywhere other than WWE is going to be probably used better, right?
Yeah. So, but I really, really like the Impact Women's Division. I would like to see what's going to happen with Women of Honor. But Kushida, boy, there's just once you watch the cage matches, the last pay-per-view, anybody who does flip-de-doos is a legit player in professional wrestling now.
Yeah.
So that's where I'm at.
So yeah, that's it. I mean, I can't argue with those answers. The only question I have is because I had a different person instead of Taya Valkyrie, I almost did But then I thought to myself, well, we've done him a bit recently, I think. But would it have changed your answers if it had been Kyle O'Reilly? Kishida, Kyle O'Reilly, and Johnny Gargano.
It might have. No, probably not. I mean, Gargano maybe would have been more fun and Impact, but I just don't see him as an AEW product. I think and you'll attest to this. You've done a podcast with me for 2 years now, and we've been very, very close friends. I would even say best friends.
Wow, best friends.
for 5-6 years now.
For life.
For life. Anyway, I don't know that you. I've never hidden the fact that I didn't think Gargano was a main eventer. I think he's a transitional champion at best, even as a babyface, even as Johnny Wrestling. There were times you were marking out over him. Oh my gosh, he's going to be champion for the title. And I was like, God, I hope not.
See, and the thing is, frankly, I see a babyface Heartbreak Kid in him. I really do see he could be as over as that if done right. But WWE obviously isn't going to.
He's been a heel for ages now. I mean, for a little over 2 years.
Yeah,
it's irritating me. Long.
But
so anyway,
who do you got for me?
I am going to use. Oh, let's just get after it. Let's just use people whose contracts are ending. We've seen it, but things are different now. This is going to be something where it's no longer about, well, what would you do if Kevin Owens was available? Kevin Owens is going to be available at the same time as Sami Zayn's going to be available. I mean, unless it's contract expiration, which I'm 99% sure you're right. I think on Kevin Owens, they'll fire him the last month. To make sure. Sami Zayn, they may let him expire, but Kevin Owens, they're going to fire his ass just to keep him off the market for 90 days.
Yep.
So Kevin Owens, Sami Zayn, what's another contract that's expiring? Was it Gargano's expiring?
Gargano's is expiring, yeah.
There you go. There's your fun. Have it.
Okay. Assuming they're all at the same time.
They're I think a total of 4 months apart.
Yeah, but we're just gonna pretend them at the same time and everything. So just for the sake of this,
October.
No, apparently both Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn's are January. Yes,
and Gargano's is October.
I think so, something like that. I don't know, but I'm just gonna say all at the same time. As much as you would think, I'm gonna say Gargano and AEW because I do think you'd be fucking fire there.
Kevin Steen's better.
But you got to do Kevin Steen there. You just got to. There's no ifs, ands, or buts there.
I knew what AEW was when I said Kevin Owens or Kevin Steen. Yeah.
Yeah. That's it there. The tougher thing is Sami Zayn and Gargano. They're a lot more similar than we'd like to think they are. Because they both got super over as baby faces.
Yep. And neither of them is over as a heel, I guess I should say.
Yeah. And they both, kind of struggle.
They're good heels, but they're not. You don't hate them the way you do Roman or Seth Rollins.
So, Gargano to Impact and Sami Zayn to Ring of Honor, I think is the way you go.
Oh, why wasn't JLB here? He'd
Yeah.
So mad at you.
Yeah, he would have. We should just text him. Be like, by the way, I put Sami Zayn in Ring of Honor just for you.
Gosh.
I think that just works better for me.
I think it's the last 3 years of booking for Sami Zayn. I really do.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
well, yeah, WWE has really worked remarkably hard at ruining Sami Zayn.
Yeah. I thought they were going to do that with Bayley when they took away the hugger thing, and that turned out okay.
Mm-hmm.
But whoo-wee, Sami Zayn is a. I'm disinterested in him being Fidel Castro or Che Guevara.
And like I said, the tough thing is go back 5 years, even just like 4 years, right? Sami Zayn babyface entrance. He still uses the same music.
The music is babyface.
Yeah. Whoa, 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 whoa. It's a ska. Who doesn't want to dance to ska music? So, anyways,
yeah,
I think that's the way I would do it. So,
and Gargano would be fire in the X division. You're right. So,
yeah, I mean, you think about Chris Bay versus Gargano.
You could babyface him to a championship.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh, ultimate overcomer. Type thing. Yeah, it works.
Yep. So,
but Kevin Steen.
Yeah, you just don't pass that.
Like, are you listening?
Yeah.
Tony Khan.
Mm-hmm.
Kevin Steen to AEW. Yeah.
Well, that's the deal. I mean, when we mention how stacked the roster in AEW is and how we wonder when they're going to be able to stop signing stars. So there's a couple things that eventually they are going to have some people leave, right?
Yeah.
It's the nature of business. Doesn't matter how great your NFL team is. Eventually a star goes to the opposition, goes to a different team, right? It's the nature of the business. They're going to have some stars step back from wrestling. We've already seen
Cody do it.
Cody step back a bit and not do it as much. Christopher Daniels has not wrestled since they lost that tag team match, right?
Yeah. Well, Hangman Page taking a break.
Hangman Page took a break, but I think we are going to see some people. I think we're going to eventually see, like, Billy Gunn will probably stop wrestling altogether and just be a coach mentor backstage and let his sons continue to wrestle, right?
Yeah.
You're going to have some people who step back, and you're going to have eventually some people who go to someplace else for all sorts of reasons. Their contracts come up with AEW and they get offered a big contract at WWE, or they don't. They get offered a contract at Impact, or they don't get offered a renewal. I mean, we like to talk about Tony Khan and talk about how he's a great guy and he's a wrestler's booker. He's a wrestling guy, everything, but he's also a businessman. And eventually there are going to be some of those wrestlers that he realizes he whiffed on, right? That he took a chance on unsigned.
In the women's division. I mean, Aja Kong's not around anymore.
Yeah.
Awesome Kong's not around anymore. She retired.
Yep. But there are going to be something like, I'm a big fan of Peter Avalon. I think he's a phenomenal wrestler. And, but he's, even with this new, the Wingman gimmick, he's not over. He's not over with the crowd. They barely use him, mostly on Dark, to lose to other teams. And yeah, there always needs to be jobbers, but eventually Tony Khan's going to probably look at someone like Peter Avalon and say, maybe you'd be better off someplace else.
You're fired.
Yeah. And I think is, I don't know if he's going to fire them, but he very easily might not renew their contract. Right? That's the easier way to do it. That's the nice guy way to do it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just saying, hey,
Hey, Tony, when are we going to renegotiate my contract for the next contract?
About that.
Well, probably not.
Yeah, about that. You can start contacting other companies now about booking.
Yeah, and because you now know, let's just go ahead and let you know that you're not going to have any matches in the remaining month and a half or whatever it is.
You're going to have a 2-month vacation.
Matches up. Yep.
Yeah. You're going to get paid. You're still going to get your checks and everything. You're just, it's going to happen. And he's a businessman and he knows he doesn't have infinite money for a roster. But on top of it, as excited and nice as we like the 1-hour Rampage on Friday nights, I 100% see because its ratings have been better than people like to say, oh, it's only getting about 700,000 viewers right now. But Warner Brothers specifically said that 700,000 viewers is more than they expected. Right.
Peachy Keen on Friday night at 10 o'clock.
Yes.
East.
And so I would not be surprised if they come and say, it would be great. Let's do that 2 hours. And I like it at 1 hour. I don't necessarily want a 2 hour on a regular, but they're doing a 2 hour this week, and it could be a trial run for down the road. And so then we have 4 hours of wrestling that they need to fill up. That opens up the pocketbooks a little bit more there.
If you want, I'm going to say this to both AEW and WWE and anybody else who wants the 18 to 50 demographic to be bigger. Saturday morning, replace the cartoons. Their kids will watch. It's a long-term play, and Dad will sit down with the kids and watch pro wrestling.
Even Saturday more than that,
recap show.
And here's another way that, frankly, I think, and I know they're walking a fine line with this, and I don't want them to stop because it is one of their recruiting tools. But currently, they don't do any house shows, right? They do the AEW Dark tapings down in Orlando. They do Rampage and Dynamite in wherever, and that's it. And one of their recruiting things is a lighter work schedule. You're not doing a ton of house shows. You can take your indie bookings, and yada yada yada. But there are reasons for house shows. WWE debated on getting rid of house shows, and they've never done it. And the reasons are, A, you can try out storylines in front of a live crowd without it being canon, right? You can earn some more money from ticket sales to these live shows. And very important for AEW, right? They're trying to build up a video library. What better way to build up a video library than unseen footage from house shows, right? Yep. You record them, you don't put them on YouTube, you wait until you've got an offer for a streaming service and you say, hey, we've also got all of this footage from live shows that we can put in the archives, right? And
literally, those house shows should be Thursday on your way home.
Yes.
So you know who's injured and who isn't. Don't ruin your next day's card. That is on your way home, wherever you're going.
Yep.
Less than
they play Kansas City on Wednesday, and then
Thursday they're in Omaha.
Yeah, Thursday they're in Omaha, or maybe even Lincoln. You know what I mean? Yeah. They do it at Pershing Auditorium in Lincoln, or what's the one here in Omaha? Not Baxter. There's another smaller one, Civic, something like that. Just someplace they can do a smaller show or whatever, but a way to earn extra money, a way to get some extra thing, but also that opens up a little bit more room for making your roster bigger, because now you've got a couple stars that you want to put on it, and then a bunch of undercard people, right? So
if something that does pop really, really well, you can go, we're going to use that one as canon on a Saturday. That's why I say Saturday morning shows.
Yep.
Here's the deal. The only way you saw Diesel beat Bob Backlund was in a recap show. Now, it's the worst era of WWE, 1995. But the only way you saw the World Championship change hands, or the WWE Championship change hands, was on a recap of what happened on a Thursday night before SmackDown ever existed, when there was Monday and Saturday and Sunday, and that was it.
Yep.
So I can tell you the only reason this one right here, is doing wrestling podcast or got into wrestling is that 12 years old, I was no longer overtly interested in cartoons on Saturday morning. But I didn't have extra stuff going on yet in my life. And so I sat and I channel surfed and I found professional wrestling. That's why this guy found professional wrestling now, some almost 30 years later.
Yep.
Still a passionate fan about it. If I remember right, Sparks, you said the same thing.
It wasn't Saturday mornings, and so I was going to bring that up here. This is another thing that I think AEW should do. Talk to Turner about arranging for replays overnight on TV.
Oh, it was a late night.
Yes, because for me it was I had insomnia. I couldn't sleep because I got into it a little bit later than you, and so I was in my mid to late teenage years, but I couldn't sleep.
So
but I had a
the same
TV.
time. I mean, we'd have both been watching in the 90s,
Yep.
mid 90s.
Mid 90s, yep. I couldn't
Early
sleep,
90s.
and I had my own room. I had a TV in my room, but I couldn't sleep. I knew I had to get up for classes, so I'd just turn on something, and I'd be flipping around. And of course, in the 90s, late night TV had fuck all on, right? Infomercial, some just talk show, and then some channels that were off air, which we don't really have anymore. But there were channels that at 1 o'clock in the morning would say, "We're done." Yeah.
No reason to do programming here. Cost
Yep.
us money.
But some channels, specifically USA, TBS, TNT, a bunch of those channels would take that time and they just replay the show that they played earlier. And I know now with DVRs, we don't need it and everything, but I think there is a market for this for people who late at night are just flipping around TV to find something to watch.
Yeah.
Oh, there's an AEW replay.
You just want to be able to. Well, I mean, how did you find ROH? You didn't hunt down ROH. You stayed up late on a Saturday night and watched the local Sinclair station and went, "Oh, holy shit! There's wrestling on at midnight."
Yeah, look, there's wrestling. Who's that guy? That guy's pretty fucking good.
Which in both of our markets now, and the once shared market that you and I both lived in, now we don't live in the same market anymore. But in both of our markets now, after you moved and I moved, it's still on midnight on Saturday night. Like, I don't know anybody who watches ROH at a time different than midnight on Saturday night.
Yeah. But anyways, we've done 2 hours here, so let's go ahead and wrap this up for the Fantasy Booking Institute. We had a lot of fun today. If you joined us live, thank you. We appreciate it. If you are watching us on one of the replays or listening to us on audio, we appreciate that. Make sure to go to YouTube and Facebook and subscribe or like the pages so you get notified. I mentioned the issue that we're having with Google, so that's the best way to make sure you get it. Make sure to like and share the podcast on social media so that other people hear about it. You can find us at all of the links that are in the doobly-doos, including Tatnus Co., including our merch store, which we showed earlier, including links to our social medias. You can always follow me on pretty much all the social medias at Raw and Order WBU. It's right there, although it's kind of cut off. WBU, right, is at the end of it. You can follow DA Fabe at
DA Vincent K. Fabe.
And since he's actually reading Twitter nowadays, he might actually see it if you tweet at him. Probably won't reply still, because but you might still see it. So
I'll reply here.
Yes, on there. Hey, someone tweeted at me.
You talk some smack or just tweet at me. I'll reply on the show. Yeah, that'll be fun, huh?
But we're not going to talk about JLB stuff because, not here. He's too
at big. JLB 1674.
At JLB Stoner. Anyways. But on that note, we will go ahead and close book on the Fantasy Booking Institute. Thank you all for listening. We will see you soon.
Leather strap submission match.